This may be the end of EVs. China just defied the US, shocking Joe Biden by lifting a harsh export prohibition and causing a severe collapse in the electric vehicle sector. The electric vehicle EV business, which was already beset by problems including charging mishaps, high costs, EV fires, and weak sales, now took a serious hit. China defended Joe Biden's remark, which may result in the unemployment of thousands of people and the total collapse of the electric vehicle business. Why did the largest EV market meltdown of our time begin with China's export ban? Is the EV era over? And why did Joe Biden give China a covered handshake? Political elites have been lying to you, and EVs have been physically and metaphorically destroying the middle class. Joe Biden is in on China's latest attack on our car market. Let me begin by exposing the political energy fraud that no one wanted you to know about in this video. The narrative starts in 2017 when we began importing raw materials from China in order to produce electric vehicles. Why China, when we were provided everything at deeply discounted costs? The dream of America. However, the average person was unaware that a more sinister game was being played behind closed doors. Something that will permanently ruin the trend of costly EVs and harm our economy at the same time. China, the world leader in rare earth metals, has decided to shock the electric vehicle industry by imposing an unexpected export embargo. Thus, that will not be providing us with rare earth elements such as lithium and nickel. In addition, Joe Biden startled everyone by openly defying his own nation. If you're wondering why these rare earth metals are such a huge issue, allow me to explain it to you. These metals are not your typical ones. They function like the magic ingredient in EV batteries. Here we are discussing the vitality of the electric vehicle sector. With a staggering 30.5% of worldwide reserves and the ability to generate more than 80% of the world's supply, China has long been the dominant player in the metal market. That is a sizable portion. This implies that China is essentially the only country on Earth that can sustain the electric vehicle EV dream. However, this is the point where the plot thickens. China's new export ban is about to cause a massive EV crash. This occurred because earlier in the year, the US stopped China from supplying semiconductors. And now, China is saying, "Oh, you want that tough? What if we decimated your EV market?" It's not just a small bump either. We're talking about a lot of finger-biting in boardrooms throughout the world, possible production delays, and price increases. EV manufacturers are scurrying to locate other supplies, but not every news is negative. This significant EV collision also means automakers may return their attention to gas-powered vehicles. What will happen next then? The ban is already creating ripples, and EV producers are starting to become nervous since the price of these necessary metals is going through the roof and it will now be much more expensive to make EVs. This is a terrible situation for the smaller fish in the EV pond. Joe Biden's dubious scheme to impose EVs on the general public will fail as EV sales, which were already rotting in dealer lots, would plummet even more as a result of this new ban. You did really hear correctly. Dubious. You see, Joe Biden has been enforcing severe emissions standards left and right to force businesses to sell solely electric vehicles, EVs, despite dealers and automakers begging him not to side with China. Additionally, he took a step last week that completely went against US interests. He then vetoed a bill that focused on maintaining local business, particularly in light of the increasing number of EV charging stations. The purpose of this regulation was to ensure that all materials, including steel and iron, utilized in the construction of these chargers, originated in the United States. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Maintain local employment, back American laborers, and so on. However, the law also said that the installation of these charging stations may take longer if we adhere to the Buy America requirement. And using just US materials might result in extremely delayed and expensive operations as the entire world tries to obtain these chargers due to the massive EV growth. In order to construct these chargers, Biden is now using this as justification to repurchase a large amount of goods from China. All right, we receive a little chicken. The market for EVs will collapse. But please, do me a favor and stop by any nearby dealer lot. The quantity of EVs already parked there at reduced prices will astound you. It's not only China that prompted the midnight drop. This is a lengthy game that includes transporting hazardous electric vehicles, EVs, some of which have even claimed lives. However, more on that in a moment. Let's get down to business. Imagine entering a car showroom and witnessing many rows of brand new electric vehicles that are only gathering dust. Considering that we've been taught EVs are the newest big thing, it's an odd sight. Dealerships are nearly overflowing with unsold vehicles. To put that in perspective, several manufacturers claim that their inventory has been sitting on the shelf for more than 90 days. It's similar like owning enough automobiles for the upcoming season without having to sell any of them. And those figures are astounding. We are discussing a rise in EV inventories of 56% over the previous year. Come on, it is ridiculous. You may be asking yourself why any of this is going on. These high-tech marvels are not inexpensive. To start, a new electric vehicle's average cost plummeted from around $65,295 to $50,683. But well, what do you know? Even so, that's a significant amount of difference over the typical gas guzzler. Not only is the initial cost deterring some consumers, but many are also perplexed by the whole idea of having an electric vehicle. Consider it. The cost of installing a home charger may run into the thousands. The insurance rates have skyrocketed, and I've been informed about the repair expenditures. People have occasionally had to spend up to $50,000 to get a dent on their electric vehicle battery fixed. $50,000 for a scrape, give that some thought. The U.S.'s significant dependence on China for EV components has resulted in a number of instances of inferior parts and low-quality materials from the Chinese, which in some cases have even resulted in fatalities. Now for the biggest issue that no one saw coming: EV fires. Consider Tesla vehicles. If you have ever sat in one, you will quickly realize that the quality of the inside isn't very good. We're talking about massive gaps between panels, component rattling sounds, and many software bugs. To satisfy a quota, it seems as though the Chinese dumped the worst of the worst on the US, and everything was well until these shoddy Teslas began to catch fire and murder people. There have been incidents when Teslas have caught fire, destroying whole homes, and, in certain cases, confining and murdering the owners. Even worse, as more people begin to discover that electric vehicles are not designed for cold climates, Teslas are currently going extinct in the middle of the road as a result of the cold weather. You know what, though? Never freezes in the winter. Petroleum. How can the average person now protect himself from this market meltdown and refrain from purchasing these exorbitant cars? Here's the brutal reality, though. EVs are a massive fraud designed to destroy the middle class, not the way of the future. Until the grid is robust enough for charging, do not purchase an EV at this time. Invest your money instead in less expensive gas guzzlers, which will soon experience a rise in MSRP as EVs become more expensive and consumers rush back to purchasing the reliable old gas guzzlers. Overall, the whole electric vehicle supply chain is on high alert as a result of the export prohibition. Everyone is under pressure, from those producing batteries to those creating electrical components. And let's not forget about us, the customers. The next time we're looking at an EV, you can bet your bottom dollar that the sticker price will reflect the rising production costs. This is when the juicy part starts. Some others believe China is employing these metals as a geopolitical chess piece as part of a larger scheme. It appears as though they are in complete charge of the EV globe, dictating the direction and speed of the entire electric revolution. This may give China an advantage in the globe EV competition, shifting the balance in their favor. In the Chinese market, companies like BYD are already outperforming Volkswagen in China. In an effort to take share of our market, China has just begun to introduce its cars in the USA and the EU. The EV revolution is at a crossroads. The supply of EVs will shortly collapse severely, and when that does occur, businesses will simply be compelled to resume producing reliable, affordable diesel and gas automobiles that the general public genuinely wants. What are your thoughts then? Should the US rely on China to produce electric vehicles? Is buying an EV currently a wise decision? Please share your ideas with me in the comments section below.